We will continue with the Christmas story. Today we will read the story titled Silent Night. A White Christmas. Perhaps to others, a simple snowfall for 1 or 2 months of the year was normal, but to some states, a speck of icicle could mean the final decoration on the top of a Christmas tree. For this one year, the soft blanket of holiday cheer covered everything in its path. For the kids, this was a rare experience, leading them on to make snow angels, build snowmen, and more. To adults, it might have been a sight to photograph, or simply curse and yell as the film of snow covered their windshield and froze their door handles. Never mind that it would most likely only last for a single day. Alaine found himself curled up by the bay window, mindlessly tracing over the outlines and silhouettes of trees, street lamps, and the many buildings that were sprawled across the landscape. The miniature town seemed to be locked inside a snow globe, with the mist and fog that surrounded everything being the glass that kept everything and everyone in. And maybe the snowflakes that fell from the sky were mere specks of glitter floating around and spreading the holiday spirit. Alaine watched as little children suited up in puffy jackets, snow pants, and beanies danced around and tried to catch the snowflakes on their tongues. He scrunched his nose in disgust, turning away to look at something that didn't quite get on his nerves as much as Christmas did. It caused his stomach to turn, for unpleasant thoughts to resurface right after he had spent the whole morning trying to bury them under layers and layers of dirt. Sticking his hands into his jacket, he pulled the hood of his sweater up and over his head. While the little flat he owned did have a heater, it had broken last year and Alaine had just forgotten about even trying to repair it. After all, while winters were cold, the freezing temperatures were nothing a few blankets couldn't fix. The young adult exited his room, trying to fade out the tedious sounds of children laughing wildly in the background. It only caused his mood to sour even more. What good is Christmas but a waste of time? Alaine tried to come up with as many excuses as to why the holiday was in every way terrible, but he found he only knew a few. Only, he didn't want to admit in any way that the holiday wasn't as bad as he sought it to be. It didn't matter though, for he shoved away any trace of the season into a little back corner alley of his mind. A long wind whistled as he slipped on some snow boots and stepped out of his flat, the air singing a tune that reminded the male of a certain carol. Silent night, holy night. He shook his head furiously, fighting the urge to claw at his head, dig his fingers into his skull, and tear out every little bell that rang and sang. Tune it out, don't listen, it's not there if you ignore it. Every step he took was close to a slap on the concrete sidewalk, although most of it was covered by inches of snow, making a crunch sound under his boots. He could almost feel the damp wetness of the ice seeping through his clothes, getting under his skin, and it only made him seethe with frustration. I hate. Well yes, Alaine hated Christmas with all his heart. Every beat, every breath, every pump of blood. I love Christmas, but why doesn't it ever just snow? No, he couldn't. Everyone else was all merry and happily dancing, singing, and having fun, and it made Alaine mad. Alaine, come on. Let's go get ice cream. The young girl grabbed her older brother's hand, shaking it as she pulled him forward. No. It's 15 degrees out here. Why would you want to get ice cream? He rolled his eyes, pulling his hand away and flicking her forehead. Let's go back inside, where it's not 1,000 degrees below zero. But of course, little sisters were more stubborn than oxes, and in the next few seconds, Alaine found himself alarmed to see fat tears rolling down Elaine's cheeks. Her eyes were damp with even more oncoming tears, and seeing that they were standing right at the front of a park where everyone could see, he was forced to give in. Fine. Geez, you're such a drama queen. Just this once. But if you get sick, it's gonna be your fault. Alaine simply rolled her eyes, a wide grin stretching over her features as if she had just won the lottery. With a sleeve, she quickly wiped away the fake tears that were almost already dried upon her skin, sniffling. Let's go. The ice cream truck isn't gonna wait for such a slow snail like you, she blurted, already beginning to run towards the white truck that had sweet decals as well as promotions decorating its entirety. Alaine let out an exasperated sigh, a one-sided hatred for the ice cream man because who even sold ice cream in weather like this? Nonetheless, he made way to follow her, keeping his eyes out on the road for any incoming cars. He looked up as his sister began to order a chocolate and vanilla swirl, taking note of the nearly blinding sun despite the temperature difference. The sky was a shade of a cornflower blue, and notes of white clouds sprawled across the atmosphere like a mess of specks and odd shapes. He could almost hear his sister pointing out funny animals such as donkeys, dinosaurs, and her favorite, a dove. It was a mantra that the young adult continuously repeated over and over again in his head like a sacred ritual every time something from the past was brought up. His head was a storm, a mess of gibberish, a voice of not his own, and a face that he feared one day he would forget. That one day, she wouldn't exist again, a long-faded memory. "Hey! The nice ice cream man is waiting for you to pay," Alaine informed, jabbing a finger into the side of his arm. "Hurry up or else your ice cream is gonna melt." Her elder brother felt a twinge of annoyance, the type that made his eye twitch in disbelief at just how scheming little sisters could be. Though before he could get payback, he stepped up to the cash register and handed the man the money, nodding once in acknowledgement at the guy's tired expression. And if he added a few extra dollars, nobody needed to know. After a few moments of awkward silence, Alaine hastily muttered a hardly intelligible "thank you and have a nice day," before he turned away and brought his attention back to his sister. The teen scrunched his nose, raising an eyebrow to mock a disappointed face. "You sly little fox. Better not do that again or else I'll have to remove your ice cream privileges for the rest of the year." He ended up receiving a very rudely blown raspberry, only very closely managing to dodge the oncoming rain of spit mixed with half-eaten ice cream. "That is disgusting," Alaine muttered under his breath as some kid rolled up some snow to make a ball and then ate it. His shoulders were hunched and stiff from trying to close in on himself in order to preserve even the tiniest sliver of warmth. His skin was unbearably dry from the biting wind, and even with his hands in his pockets, they still felt like frozen marble. Should have brought gloves. Alaine opened and closed his right hand into a fist to try and get his blood moving. His other hand was holding an ice cream cone, feeling like a whole icicle rather than cream and sugar. He was almost sure it probably wouldn't even melt if he didn't finish it fast, half scoffing and sneezing as he tried to take a bite of the dessert. His nose felt numb as it was smeared with chocolate and vanilla. Can't even eat ice cream like a normal person. Alaine only barely heard his sister, but he heard her anyway. He whipped his head to the side fast enough to cause whiplash, and the scowl he put up on his face quickly melted away into a disbelieving expression. "Normal? You literally just had the ice cream in your hand a second ago, and now it's gone. Not my fault you're a slow eater. Try hurrying it up." "Oh yeah? You'll be hurrying to an early grave if you keep on eating so many sweets." Alaine shot him a venomous look, attempting to reach up and snatch away his ice cream, but luckily Alaine raised it up high where she couldn't reach just in time. "Oh? You want more? Not a chance. Go buy it yourself." The teen laughed at his sister's futile attempts to jump up and get it, but his height advantage always ensured him the win. "Hey!" Alaine frustratedly yelled as a snowball came hurling at his chest. It landed a weak punch to the left side of his torso, painting his black fleece coat with flicks of white that melted and damped his jacket. He felt his blood boiling as he glared at the kids who stood frozen in the driveway of their house before they ran off laughing as if it was funny. "What a damn joke," the young male cursed, brushing off the remaining snow with his bare hands. The wet feeling was similar to a sticky one, and it only caused an overwhelming barrage of emotions. "Hey!" He should have looked where they were going, should have seen the car heading straight toward them. It all happened so fast he wasn't sure if he had blacked out, but to him, barely a second passed before there was blood, so much of it. It painted the front of his jacket, and the questions that ran through his head turned into a burning pile. Whose blood is this? Alaine didn't know what had happened. He wasn't sure if he wanted to know at all. All he wished for at that moment was for the ringing in his ears to stop, for the voices that screamed out in panic to just shut up, and for his sister to be in his arms, where he could sing her to sleep like their mother had used to do. Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. It was that stupid song again, reverberating around his head like a bell, and at this point, Alaine bit down on his lip to prevent his nails from tearing into his scalp. Every sound, every movement, every breath, and every beat of his heart set his blood on fire as it ran through his veins. He walked faster, boots coming down on the concrete sidewalk as he tried to clear his mind. He thought of his favorite movie, his favorite song. Round yon virgin, mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace. Alaine didn't know whose voice it was in his head. Perhaps it was his own? Was he the one screaming? No, he couldn't. He was supposed to be the brave one, the strong one. His sister needed him to protect her, too. His hands were sticky, warm coursing down his fingers and coating his palms with a scarlet residue. The air smelled of iron and smoke, and he couldn't breathe. It was as if somebody had clawed the insides of his throat and lungs with a knife. Alaine? Nobody replied. Alaine? Alaine? Where are you? I can't. Oh. The thick, metallic blood that flowed through his fingertips belonged to her. His sister, the only one he cared for left in the world. Alaine? Who was speaking? It couldn't be him because Alaine refused to show any signs of weakness no matter what. And the voice that sounded so distant, so not like him, was shaking. It was trembling with a fear that chilled him to the bones. There was a heavy feeling in his arms, and when he finally looked down, he didn't even remember rushing over to her the second he saw the bloodied crimson figure lying in the middle of the road. He had run past all the medics who tried to hold him down and get him away from the car wreckage. Alaine didn't need them to interfere, didn't care if he was going to die at that moment. Alaine, that was the only thing on his mind. Get to her. His fingers shook, and everything in the background, every noise, everything, everyone else but his sister faded away into white noise or was blurred out. Shh, it's okay. Let's go home. Okay? Let's go home, my angel? Was it blood or tears running down his face? He couldn't tell. There was a thick substance that dripped down his forehead from what he assumed was a small wound, but it didn't matter. Come on, angel, get up. Wake up, Alaine. Hey, please get up, Alaine, it's my fault. Now the salty liquid that leaked out of his eyes couldn't be mistaken. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. His blabbering was unintelligible, but he wished that she would hear him, would forgive him. I shouldn't have let you get ice cream, shouldn't have messed around. If I had just looked across the street, had seen it, I swear, I would have protected you. Alaine? Angel? Can you hear me? Your big brother's here. Alaine sat opposite of the headstone, leaning over very carefully to gently remove the wilted blue cornflowers and replace them with a new bouquet. He looked at the engravings upon the stone, reaching out a hesitant hand to gently stroke the letters. Alaine Sylvester. A loving sister, caring friend, cheerful daughter. Hey, it's been a while, Angel. How've you been? The wind blew softly as if caressing cold cheeks. I've been doing pretty okay myself. As best I could be. The petals of a baby blue swayed back and forth rhythmically. Okay, well maybe that's not fully the truth. I've missed you so much. God, I don't know whether I would want to see you again right now, not that I don't wish I could so goddamn much. Sorry, I didn't mean to. The young adult rested a soft hand on the top of the headstone, closing his eyes almost as if he could feel some sort of comfort in knowing that. Hey, are you crying? Alaine shook his head immediately, wiping away the dampness on his cheeks. No, why would I be? You don't have to pretend, silly. I know. I wasn't crying, Alaine, it's fine. You should go to bed, it's late. Instead, a little body leaned next to him as they both stared off into the crackling fire in front of them. Hey, Angel? Yes? Promise me something, alright? Alaine rolled her eyes, looking up for a moment to see her elder brother's eyes looking strangely empty. And all of a sudden, her chest felt as if it had a cavity, a hole where her heart should have been. Yes, what is it? Promise me you won't leave me, okay? Mother isn't coming back, and I need you to know I love you, I'll always care and protect you. Please don't leave me, I'll take care of you from now on, okay? Shh, don't cry. I'm not. Yes, you are, brother. Alaine reached a hand up to touch his face and found that indeed, the spot below his eyes was wet. I promise, but you also have to promise that you'll let me know if you're feeling less than usual? Alaine nodded, more like jerking his head, but he reached out and grabbed his sister's hand as if he needed to verify if she was there real. I promise, Angel. Alaine smiled, squeezing her elder brother's hand back in return. Love you, big bro. I love you, Angel. A snowflake drifted down to land on the back of the male's hand, a little sting of cold. He found that he didn't mind as much.